Welcome to Menopause Moguls podcast, the Elevation Talk series, with yours truly, Dr. Joyelle. I am Dr. Joyelle, the Menopause Mogul, board certified OBGYN and business coach for Black women 40 and over. And my mission is to educate, embolden, and empower Black women and other women of color in their journey through health and careers. This is a space for Black women and other women of color to share their compelling trials and tribulations in their health and or in their careers and businesses. This is where we recognize the humanity of Black women and show how Black women continue to elevate despite midlife challenges and changes. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of Menopause Moguls with yours truly, Dr. Joyelle. How are you all doing today? It's getting close to the end of June already. The summer, as it always does, just flies by. But that also means that my birthday month is coming up, y'all. How are y'all doing? It's hot. I'm here in the DMV. It's hot. I hope you all are staying cool out there. You know, us midlife chicks, when it's hot, right? Speaking of which, I just had put my car into service because my AC was not working, y'all, in the truck. I'm like, I need the AC. We are having a 90-degree weather week, and it's hot. But anyway, I wanted to talk to you all about interruptions and disruptions. And I wanted to let you all know that the midlife interruptions can outweigh hormone disruptions. And I want to ask you this question, which is a very powerful question. And that is, who are you uninterrupted? Who are you uninterrupted? But I want you to put a pin in that. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later in the episode, but I want you to kind of think about that in the back of your mind. I want to start with talking about the disruptions, right? Perimenopause, menopause is a disruption. Point blank, it's a disruption. I had night sweats. I had where I would wake up soaking wet, pajamas stuck into my body, feeling angry, feeling smelly, stinky, feeling disgusting. It was disruption. It was disruptive to my life, right? It was disruptive to my morning. I had mood swings, irritability, just easily irritated, disruptive. Fatigue, disruptive, right? It's all disruptions. But at the same time, they were disruptions that I needed. What if your perimenopause journey is the disruption that you needed? Because when I think back to all the things that were going on within my body, you know, the physical changes, the mental changes, the emotional changes, when I decided to do something about them, right? Because initially I just ignored them, like I talked about in my last episode, where I just kind of pushed through and just figured they would just fade away at some point. When I decided to prioritize myself, prioritize my health, prioritize my wellness, it was a transformation in my life where I actually decided that I can certainly build a business that I've been thinking about for at least a couple of years. It gave me the courage to do that. It gave me um, the audacity to resign from my practice. I got this good paycheck that I'm getting, right? And actually resign from my practice and do something I totally feel inadequate to do. I'm like, I can take out a uterus. I can deliver a baby, but a business, I don't know nothing about that, right? So all the uncertainty, but I my perimenopause journey gave me the opportunity to really hone in and getting to know myself and building the courage to do big and scary things like build this platform, like start this podcast, speaking in front of audiences beforehand, y'all. I'm telling you, I've told y'all this before. Like, I did not like speaking. I did not like every time I'm like, I don't want to talk. I don't want to speak in front of people. Don't make me do it. And not that I still don't get nervous every single time, but it definitely, I'm like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. Like, I'm good. A little nervous, but I'm good. So the disruptions that my symptoms were doing, it was certainly something that I needed to change the trajectory of my life. Because before I was, living status quo. I'm in my practice. I'm a mommy. It's going with the flow. This is just how it's going to be. This is how it is. But I wanted more, right? And I felt I was being called to do more. And the disruptions, the disruption that my symptoms had caused made me decide that I needed to do something about it, right? I needed to really choose myself, choose my desires, and choose the things that I needed in order to do the big scary thing, like build the business, start a podcast, write a book, like all the things. So the disruptions that you are experiencing when you're having these menopausal changes, symptoms, maybe the disruptions that you need and really hunker down into getting to know yourself in this season and really figuring out what do you truly want and what actually brings you joy and do those things in this season of your life so that you can really create the life that you want as you're going into this new phase of life of this midlife journey instead of sticking with the status quo and just kind of, living all willy-nilly, but instead live with intention, right? So the disruptions probably is something that you need in order for you to really take the opportunity to do what you want to do, to get the things that you want, get the things that you need in the season of your life so that you can live the rest of your life the way you want it to, as opposed to what the way other people expect you to, what other people want you to. Really do something that you want to do. So talking about those disruptions, I also wanted to talk about the hormone disruptors, right? There's a lot of talk about hormone disruptors too, right? Hormone disruptors are also known as endocrine disruptors, and these are chemicals that interfere with our body's hormones. Now, and you can be exposed to these endocrine or hormone disruptors in our diet, the food that we eat, the water that we drink, the products that we put on our skin, and even the air, the household products that we use, the perfumes that we're using, candles that we're burning. Now, y'all, I love me a candle. I love me a good smelling candle. But as I am aging, like I said, I'm coming on my birthday, and I'm a lifelong learner, and I'm just learning just a lot more about how a lot of things that we are using, a lot of things that this country is putting out there for us to use is really affecting us negatively, hormonally, um, brain health, heart health, and you know, and the things that we don't think about, right? Like I said, the household products that we use, the laundry detergent, all these things, the foods that we're eating. And I'm also very intentional about teaching my kids, right? I was listening to a a podcast. It's a podcast called The Model Health Show. Really good podcast. Um, and it was talking about the toxins in cereals that are promoted to our children. And they were just naming all the cereals, of course, the cereals that we all like, all my kids and I. Apple Jacks is my favorite cereal, y'all. But I stopped buying it because all the crap that's in it. And they were naming all these cereals, and my kids were listening to it with me, listening to this podcast episode with me. Like we were just, in the kitchen. I think I was cooking and they were eating something or whatever. So I had it on and they were listening with me. And my daughter goes, "Well, mommy, what can we eat?" Because it was so much. And again, it's things that we don't think about. We just kind of like, oh, it tastes good. The kids like it, just get it. But y'all, I'm sorry, America can be ghetto, right? Like because they put all they're killing us. They are killing us. And it's very sad for me to say that, but at the same time, it's true. And all these things that we're using and eating and drinking can literally be killing us because these hormone disruptors, being exposed to them chronically can lead to chronic health conditions like high blood pressure, heart disease, kidney disease, and diabetes, like all these things. So these hormone disruptors, there's things called xenoestrogens, which is a subcategories of hormone disruptors. And these are chemicals that have estrogen-like effects. And I discussed this much more detail in my Menopause Moguls program. But these substances basically, our body regulates the amount of estrogen that we need, in these intricate pathways. Our body does its thing. But when our body is introduced to these xenoestrogens, it goes haywire. These xenoestrogens actually, because they have the same molecular structure as our estrogen, it can bind to our estrogen receptors. And when it does that, it can increase the amount of estrogen in our body and it can cause estrogen, something called estrogen dominance, which can lead to perimenopausal symptoms, the hot flashes, the brain fog. And the problem with these xenoestrogens, not only because they bind our estrogen receptors and blocking our own natural estrogen receptors, and it causes these pathways that regulate our hormones, they make them go out of whack. The other problems with these xenoestrogens is that they're not digested properly. So instead of, the normal digestion of estrogens where they're digested and then I'm not digested, but, broken down in our system and then excreted, in our urine, in our bowel movements and that properly, these xenoestrogens, because they're not degradable, they get stored in our fat cells. So they're just hanging out, you know, causing, again, chronic problems that can lead to diabetes, heart disease, neurological symptoms, infertility, endometriosis, all the things. So that's a problem, right? That's a problem, right? And there's like three major ones that we can encounter in a lot of our products. One is BPA, and that can be found in our food packaging, toys, the lining of canned foods. Another one is called phthalates, and that was basically called a plasticizer. It's all in our plastics. So, the food packaging, our water bottles, cosmetic fragrances, toys, like all the things that's also found in the phthalates are found in that. And parabens, that's a lot of those parabens can be found in our skincare. So these are all the things that we're using, right? Skincare, cosmetics, hair products, all these things. So we really have to be proactive when we're buying things, looking at the ingredients list, right? Looking at seeing what's in those things. A lot of these ingredients, these lists have all these things that we can't even pronounce, which probably means we shouldn't be using it. And that's like what, everything, right? Like, so it can be a little bit daunting when you're like in the grocery store, you want to go in there and get some things quickly. But at the same time, this is our health we're talking about, right? We really have to be intentional about looking at those ingredients lists and thinking about the products that we use and the foods that we buy in order to be healthy, in order to be well as we are aging. At the same time, our kids, because they are, I'm now, in my late 40s and been eating Apple Jack since I was a kid and all these things. So you think about if we weren't exposed to those things as children, would that have changed, the things that we have encountered as far as medical conditions or things just, within ourselves? Had it been different if we weren't exposed to those things chronically as children? So, like I said, I'm just intentional about looking at those things, especially not only for myself, but also for my children. So to minimize the exposure to those things, these xenoestrogens, we have to look at the foods, choose organic if you can, because organic, y'all, is expensive. Like why we have to like pay astronomical prices to buy organic food, which is ridiculous. Um, but sometimes, we gotta do what we gotta do. So, choosing organic, trying to choose foods that are not, infused with those hormones, like the meats and dairy products that we use. Try to buy hormone-free things. The plastic that we're using, I've stopped heating up food in plastic in microwaves a long time ago. Because those phthalates, those chemicals that are in the plastics gets in our food that we're eating. So reducing the plastics, that we're using. Household products, try to use them, the hormone free, the chemical free ones. You could try to make, they have all these TikToks where they show you how to make um different household or cleaning products with using lavender, like essential oils and, things like that, vinegar and things like that. But, try to look at, household products that you're using, the menstrual products that we're using, or try to use organic tampons and menstrual pads. Honey Pot is definitely one, black woman owned, that I use for my daughter. The health and beauty products that we're using, looking at those cosmetics, skincare, looking at the ingredients list for that. I know it sounds like a lot, right? But everything in our skin is the biggest organ of our bodies, right? And thinking about all the lotions, we like those good smelling lotions and things like that. The cosmetics, we have to look at all those things because those things can be a major contributor to disrupting our hormones and exacerbating our menopausal symptoms. So thinking about all those um, is something that I just wanted to share with you because these are things that I'm learning. Like I said, um, learning to look at for myself in order to, again, be healthy, be well, and at the same time teach my kids this in the same token. So that's hormone disruptors. Just kind of give you a gist of that. Hormone disruptors can be, like I said, something that we have to be mindful of. The disruptions that our symptoms can put us through can be very disruptive to our life. And we can potentially, like I said, avoid some of the hormone disruptors. But let's talk about the interrupters. Like I said before, the midlife interrupters can outweigh the hormone disruptors. And I'm going back to that question of who are you uninterrupted? And I came across this question. I was watching a YouTube video. It was a woman called Felicia Hatcher. I also follow her on IG. She is the CEO of Pharrell Williams' organization called Black Ambition. And she mentioned this question. She have heard this question in this I don't know if y'all saw this HBO series. It's called Lovecraft Country, and it was a black sci-fi HBO series. I used to watch it too, and I think I've missed a couple of episodes because she found that she heard this question in an episode. There was one of the characters who asked another character, "Who are you uninterrupted?" And she found it very powerful. And myself also found it very powerful because you don't really think about that, right? Who are you uninterrupted? If you can create the business and the life you want without anything or anyone stopping you, what would that look like? What would that look like? And in these midlife years, there's always interruptions. Being a mother, it's always interruptions, right? We are always being interrupted. We got our menopause symptoms calling disruptions, but there's always interruptions that we are encountering, right? For me, my perimenopause journey, certainly was an interruption, right? As I am trying to figure out what I wanted moving forward, in my career, and then now going into entrepreneurship, interruptions, the kids, right? Their kids are always interrupting our plans, right? Speaking of which, my son is in basketball camp for the summer, and my oldest daughter, she's she's a socialite. Like, she wants to hang out with her friends. It's all about her friends. And she's been begging me to go hang out with her friend for his birthday today, right? So she's like, well, can I go with you so we can? So my plan was to drop him off at summer camp, come back home, record this podcast. Well, can I go with you so we can go to Target real quick and get my friend a gift? Really? That's not in that wasn't in my plan, right? But I did it, I was like, all right. So I just had to recalculate what I needed to do in order to get on here to record this podcast episode. And I just remember in the past, before I became delivered, and before I learned how to respond differently to the interruptions and the disruptions, right? I think, before I was every time, I either got a call from school about something going on with the kids, I had to interrupt my day, or something going on, whatever it was at work. I would get frustrated, I would get annoyed, and just be pissed off, right? Now I'm like, okay, this is what it is. What do I need to do? What do I need to, kind of adapt and still allow my day to go somewhat to what my plans were for the day, right? And so I don't get frustrated. I don't get annoyed anymore. I mean, I'm not gonna say ever. Like, there may be some days where I may be like, all right, I'm annoyed. But for the most part, I've come to a place where I'm able to respond to the interruptions, respond to the disruptions differently. That will allow me to still continue on with my day and still be productive and do the things that I wanted to do. Another thing that I also, try to do is when I have a to-do list. I used to have to-do lists where it's like, I don't know, 10 things on there. Like, I gotta try to do every single one of those things today. I don't put that pressure on myself anymore, y'all. Like, because I know this all, as y'all know, life be lifing, right? So I try to go with, what are the three major things? Like, what are the three things that I have to do, like, that need to do? All the other stuff can potentially wait. So when you think about, your to-do list for the day, the things that you have planned for a day, like, even when you want to start your business, you want to do certain things to move forward, try to choose, three major things um, that you have to do that will move the needle just a little bit, right? That will allow you to make, just one small step instead of giving yourself 50 little things, 50 things, 11 things, 20 things, whatever that long number, that big number is. Like, don't do that to yourself. It's too much pressure. And then when you don't do it, you get annoyed, you get frustrated, like all the things. Like, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that, right? So learning to respond to the interruptions, learning to respond to the disruptions, all of that matters because it changes how you show up in, in your business, in your career, in your household. Like my husband always, asks me like, how do you stay calm? How do you stay so calm? When it's, when shit's going down, whether it's the kids or something, in my family, we all got family issues, things going on. He was like, you're so calm. I'm like, yeah, I can't, y'all. Like, it's not worth it. And that's really prioritizing my peace. That's prioritizing my wellness. Like, I can't. Like, I'm not going to waste it's because a waste of my energy. My energy is better used in pouring into y'all on this podcast, pouring into my business, pouring into my clients. It's better used elsewhere. So learning to respond to the interruptions. And this comes down to also knowing myself, right? Knowing my triggers, and then trusting myself to be like, okay, I'm able to buckle down and do what I need to do once I put out that fire over there. I'm still going to be able to record this podcast. I'm still, again, like I said, because I planned to record this podcast 2 days ago, but it didn't happen because, again, interruptions, the kids, I had to take my car to the service. So if you don't already know, the interruptions won't stop, right? There's always going to be something interrupting us. But if we respond to the interruptions differently, we still can move the needle and take those small steps to get to that point where we're able to build that business that we want to do that big audacious thing that we want to do without feeling overwhelmed, without feeling exhausted. But also keeping in mind, who am I uninterrupted? Having that big vision in mind, having that big vision to remind yourself of and walk towards. Because again, that question, like I said, is so powerful. And the quality of our midlife journey depends on the quality of questions that we ask ourselves. And also being radically honest with answering those questions, right? So asking yourself, who am I uninterrupted? And what does that look like? And when you have that big vision, go back to that when things look crazy, feel crazy, right? Go back to that and figure out how what you need, what you want in order to get to that place, to that vision where I'm doing all the things that I truly want to do. I am thriving in my business, I'm thriving in my family. Like you can truly get to that point. So I want you to think about that. I want to leave you with that question. Who are you uninterrupted? And write that down. I want you to write it down. If you can create the business, if you can create the life you want without anything or anyone stopping you, what would that look like? I work with high achieving midlife women of color, Black women who want to start a service-based business. But midlife changes, whether it's the symptoms, whether it's life circumstances, has disrupted their life, disrupted their confidence. So in my Menopause Moguls program, they learn how to change their response to the disruption, change their response to the interruptions, so they can have the capacity, so they can have the energy, the clarity, the focus to build the business of their dreams. So if that speaks to you, I want you to comment if you're watching here on YouTube, or comment, I want more, or DM me on Instagram with I want more. So you can join me on the next cohort, with the next cohort of Menopause Moguls. Because you, like us, y'all, we deserve it all, y'all. We deserve it. But I know, like I said, life be lifing. There's always going to be interruptions. There's always going to be some kind of disruption. But like I said, a lot of those disruptions is something that we need in order to take the opportunity to build more self-awareness, have more self-compassion, giving ourselves more grace, and at the same time building that courage to do that big audacious thing like build a business, pivot in your career, do all the things that you are being called to do. And I have developed a framework in my program in order to help you all do that. So, like I said, DM me, comment below if you're watching on YouTube. But that's what I have for you all today. So that's your homework. Like I said, don't forget your homework. Who are you uninterrupted? So think about that, write it down. And I would love to even hear about it. Send me a DM about that too. All right, y'all. That's what I have for y'all today. As always, sending love and light. And I will talk to y'all next time. All right, y'all. Take care.